This is a Oldsmobile Aurora 3.5 1991. The GM approach to make, I'm not sure if they were targeting the European market, but the lines on these models, and I think there was also a Riviera, perhaps correct me, was a coupé Riviera. Anyhow, I do remember when these cars were introducing again this 91 model, and the press was commenting about this very breaking the standards design from GM. So let's see if the camera will focus properly. It says assembled Lake Orion, Michigan, proudly built at, I'm not sure if the camera is focusing properly, but that's how it says. It's interesting. So again, a new design, at least the exterior part from GM. This, I believe, it's actually a successor of the models Aurora. Sorry, it's really freezing outside. I'm doing an effort to film this. It's a successor of a very popular and beloved model of Aurora, I think, from the 70s and 80s. You still have people trying to keep those cars, big square cars on the road today, 2020, 2022. Obviously this one is going to be much different looking inside out than those older models, but again, this one definitely has very different lines than other GM cars of the era. I think yeah, that's a pretty big chunk actually. I think that I do like the lines, but personally I must confess I'm not much into these sedans, American sedans from after maybe 2000s. I'm more of a, if you want, Japanese car person. I do like though the American cars from the 70s and 80s. I love them. When I find one in a junkyard, I would definitely make a video on them. Those big boats, square boats. This car has a tan and perhaps gray, more gray than tan interior. There is quite a bit of light in there, although the windshields are tinted. But look at the dashboard, look at the place for the driver. We are going to try to film that close up, perhaps the instrument panel as well. And there's something interesting on the front passenger side. You see the center console has an angle like this, and this is perhaps copying some perhaps European cars, BMW. But you'll see I'm going to go in the passenger seat, and something is interesting about this center console. From the passenger point of view, again, these are for the seat belt, so the seat belt is not mounted on the C-pillar, and perhaps this is because they also had a sister model that was a coupe, and maybe they did use exactly the same seats for the sedan as well. So no seat belt on the B-pillar here. The seats are typical American higher-end cars, very soft leather here. I would say comfortable, perhaps a bit short for me, but it's a comfy interior. Americans do, at least on some models and some years, but they did put very look at just the thickness of the seat, just the size of the entire seat altogether. It's big, it's American. I don't think German cars are like this, Asian cars are like this. This is an American thing, and it's a very nice thing. So perhaps they also came with a new beige, which quite frankly I would, if this was my company, I would not keep that designer in my company for too long. But look at the passenger seat here. Unfortunately, it's moved forward and it's electric, so I cannot sit in there. But when you sit as a passenger, I think you feel somehow there is kind of a rejected point, because this dash here, the center console on the dash, it's so turned towards the driver. There is such an angle here, basically you don't even see properly the controls from your angle. So if I put the camera on the headrest of the passenger seat, this console is like, it's designed to tell you that's not your thing. You don't have to think about these things. These are mainly just designed for the driver, not for you as a passenger. So it's kind of a selfish thing, if you want, with regards for the driver, not to the passenger. Anyhow, so it's a bit plasticky here, I would say. Not very high-end looking, maybe from a distance, but not from close up. But again, the seats are very big, comfy. It's interesting. The panels of the doors are there's quite a busy design to it, but there's some interesting lines actually. Let's just have a look at the engine. And again, the camera, I'm not sure the camera is really capturing the lines. It's not just the front of the car, but look at the side of the car. So you have this kind of angle line like this. If I put the camera like this, so it's definitely, there's a shape, a sculpture to it, which I don't know. It's pleasant. Is it unforgettable? Yes, somehow. In some aspect, yes, I think it is. But it didn't really bring like a new trend on the market. Look at again the rear fender. There's again this quite impressive line. It's like an angle. Let's just try to close, to open actually the hood. Pretty heavy. And you need to, this is one of the things you need to pay attention to the junkyard, right? I don't think the cars are working like new ones. So it's a 3.5. I think GM had the 3.8. Not sure why they didn't put a 3.8 V6. Perhaps it's just to keep some space around it for maintenance job. Also, I want to point out that this one has cable throttle body and the cable gas pedal, which is amazing, something car makers no longer use today, and that's very sad, because that was a very direct input. Perhaps try to look a little bit of the dash. Actually, the instrument panel is actually nice, has these silver rings on it. It's clean, it's a bit too recessed. Perhaps it's going to look a little bit dark unless you are at nighttime, but the design overall, it's interesting, is more upscale, and I think it's pretty much a success the way it looks on this car. Alright, so definitely a design that was different for GM. They didn't really continue doing it. And look at the seats. The seats are giant, typical GM thing, like in big Cadillacs and stuff like this. But it was a different try for them, for GM back in the days.